How Matthew Lillard could return for Scream 7. The "Is Stu Really Dead?" theory explained. Matthew Lillard is officially returning to the Scream franchise in Scream 7, and attentive viewers may have noticed that there have been multiple hints over the years suggesting Stu Macher would be back. Now that Deadline announced Matthew Lillard will be coming back for Scream 7, the next question is what his role could be in the new movie after his fate in Scream. One of the first people to don the Ghostface mask back in the 1996 Scream, Matthew Lillard's Stu Macher is as much a part of Scream's fabric as Sidney Prescott and Gale Weathers. Stu Macher was never the most likable character in Scream, but he was certainly hard to look away from, and Lillard's portrayal of the annoying, immature hanger-on will be frustratingly familiar to many viewers. He may not be likable, but he's a lot of fun thanks to Lillard's eccentric and committed performance. Matthew Lillard has had a prolific, if somewhat unremarked career, most notably playing and voicing Shaggy in Scooby-Doo projects. Recently, Lillard returned to horror in Five Nights at Freddy's, and now he's staying in the genre with Scream 7. Stu Macher was electrocuted to death at the end of Scream. Stu Macher started Scream as just another member of the friend group at Woodsboro High School, equally as perplexed about the spate of killings as everyone else. Throughout the film, he has a cavalier attitude about the murders, often making lame and insensitive jokes about the people who were killed. His odd attitude surrounding the deaths is explained when it's revealed that Stu is working with Billy Loomis, Skeet Ulrich, and both young men are the Ghostface killer, taking turns under the mask to make it look like the killer is in two places at once. Stu seemingly just enjoys the fun of wearing the mask and killing, with a side of being jealous of Sidney Prescott, Campbell, and Casey Becker, Drew Barrymore. Billy and Stu stab one another to make it look like they are victims, but Billy pushes his knife in a little too deep, and Stu begins bleeding profusely. After Billy is knocked out, the dying Stu chases after Sidney but gets his hand bit, is smashed with a vase, and then has a TV dropped on his head, electrocuting him to death. There were some hints that Stu was still alive. While his death seemed permanent, there were always theories about Stu Macher, many of which suggested he still lived. There are hints dotted throughout the Scream franchise that bolstered these theories. In Scream 2, Matthew Lillard makes a blink and you'll miss it uncredited cameo as a guy at the party. Then, it was later revealed that there was a Scream 3 draft that had Stu surviving the events of the original Scream. This version of the third movie would have Stu masterminding the murders from his jail cell. Though the plot was eventually changed considerably, that original draft proves that Wes Craven and his team had always considered it possible for Stu to eventually come back to the series. Years and movies went by before Stu was ever brought up again. Then, in Scream 6, Stu fans got a gift in the form of characters discussing the legendary killer. Kirby, Hayden Panettiere, mentions that the burned TV in the Ghostface shrine is the same one that killed Stu Macher, but Mindy, Jasmine Savoy Brown, says she subscribes to the theory that Stu is still alive. Stu and Billy are the only same-gender Ghostface pairing in the Scream franchise. All these breadcrumbs suggest the Scream creative team never forgot about Stu, and it always felt like a possibility that Matthew Lillard could return. Unlike other Ghostface killers, Stu's death felt a little less permanent despite having a television dropped on his head. Other Ghostfaces get the double-tap treatment, but not Stu. Matthew Lillard teased that he might be returning. The implication is that if Lillard were to ever return to the Scream franchise, he wouldn't be the first person to say something. Over a year later, in December 2023, Lillard talked about his possible return to the franchise via EW. I don't think so. I mean, look, with what they're going through right now, I have no idea where that goes. If there's a world where it makes sense, then sure. I mean, they keep mentioning it. They keep tiptoeing around the outside. Astute fans should have noted that Lillard had already previously stated he would likely lie about his status in the franchise if he did ever return. Had they had that in mind, it may have been less of a surprise that Stu would be coming back for Scream 7. How Stu can come back in Scream 7. Though it's been announced that Stu Mitchard will be back in Scream 7, it's yet to be revealed in what capacity. His character's vague motives seem to mostly be wrapped up with Sidney, if anyone, with Neve Campbell returning to the franchise after refusing to participate in Scream.